We've all been there. You feel exposed. You start telling yourself that you're an idiot. What do you think you're doing? Who do you think you are? All of this self-attacking, we become small. We really become internalized and we shut down. This is shame. For many of you, if you clicked on this video, that experience is all too real and you know it oh so well. Hey, I'm Josh. I'm a licensed mental health therapist in Florida, Vermont, and Delaware, and I help gay men navigate shame. So you might be asking yourself, why do we have shame? It's such a barrier in our lives. So many of my clients even say I just wish this wasn't a part of me. I wish that I didn't have to deal with this. But shame is actually a very creative and helpful strategy. I'll tell you why. But first, I want to separate the shame that is a biopsychological process and shame that is an emotion. Yes, there's some interplay between these two, but the way I like to think about it is that shame is an emotion and then shame as a biological response that is trying to keep us safe. Sometimes people label it as toxic shame. So let's talk about shame as an emotion. We are social creatures. So shame, guilt, they're social emotions. They keep us in our community. So when we cross a limit or boundary, when we're not playing by the rules that is constructed by society, we typically feel guilt or shame. Shame is, I am bad. It is this attack against ourselves, where guilt is, I did something bad. Both shame and guilt are for correction. If I did something, if I cut someone off, I'm going to make a correction, I'm going to apologize. Shame is, I need to make myself small so I kind of fit in. I need to suppress myself in order to comply by the rules of society. So there's wisdom in it, but it also, if we take it too far, can be devastating and not allow us to be who we want to be. I also see shame as a biopsychological process, meaning it is tied to development. So we have to go all the way back to developmental theory and when we're born. So ask yourself, what is the first thing that a child does? The first thing a kid does when they come into the world is scream. They shout. There's what I call healthy protest. It is, hey, I need something, I want something. There's aliveness that helps us get what we want, connect with other people, set limits and boundaries, all those good things that we need in order to survive the world. So there's multiple different developmental markers and needs that need to be met as kids. And when those are not met, what a child does, they internalize those unmet needs and it becomes about themselves. So if I need connection, my connection becomes too threatening. So the only option that I have to do is dissociate, disconnect from myself, disconnect from my community. If my need for attunement, for being connected to my caregiver, for having wants and needs is too much of a threat or too taxing on the environment, what does the kid do? They internalize it. They push down their wants and needs. This is really where the theme of depression and dissociation comes from. This happens with many mile markers in development. And the only option that a kid knows what to do is, rather than honor that healthy protest, is to cut themselves off from it. This is what shame is. It is the healthy aliveness turning back inward. So this anger, if you want to use that language, anger turning back inward becomes shame. So we could develop all these strategies to keep ourselves small, to keep ourselves stuck, to not really honor that sense of aliveness. And we do this because it is a protective strategy, because the worst thing that a kid could do is to be a threat to their caregiver. So if I am too much, if I am too taxing on the environment, then the thought or the fear that a child has is that I'm going to be abandoned. Rather than being abandoned, I'm going to suppress myself and suppress my needs and my wants and my autonomy and all those different types of psychological needs, because I really want to protect my relationship with a caregiver. That is the number one priority. So I have to protect that at all costs. So a kid would rather turn against themselves than honor the healthy protest, because if a kid were to leave the community, luck, and they have to wander the world and figure out the world alone, which, as community-based beings, that's probably not a great solution or option. So when we talk about shame, when I sit in a room with clients and shame comes up into the space, I really want to be curious and not judge the shame, but be curious to it and recognize that it's actually trying to be a protective strategy. But the strategy has outgrown its usefulness. And that's when we become frustrated and we want to make a change. The reason why change feels so threatening around shame, because we're really changing the way that we relate to ourselves and our world. A lot of times people describe it as dread because it really goes back to that connection with the caregiver. And it feels like life and death. That if I don't have shame, if I don't have these shame strategies, then I am going to have to wander the world alone. I am going to be unlovable. There's all these different thoughts and beliefs and myths around if I were to give up this shame, then what's going to happen to me? This we call in therapy is disidentification. When I start disidentifying with my child consciousness or my adult, attachment, then I am becoming more of what we call adult consciousness. And an adult consciousness is this: I can be alone, I can protect myself, I can take care of myself. But in child consciousness, that seems really scary, daunting, and threatening. So when we come up to these shame strategies, we often go into binds, and these binds are what keeps us stuck. So we become walking contradictions. I want love and happiness, but love and happiness seems threatening. I want connection, but I push connection away. I want success or achievement, but that ultimately seems like it's not going to work out for me, so I self-sabotage. So for many gay men and a lot of the clients that I see, they have developed these really strong shame patterns, and this can look like multiple different things. In following videos, I'm going to talk a little bit more and go into different shame strategies, but it can look like overachieving. It can look like perfectionism. It can look focusing on your body in order to find love and connection. Because so many gay men grow up in a heteronormative world, they feel that they aren't going to belong. So what does a gay kid know what to do? Disconnect from their needs. Develop all these shame strategies in order to keep in connection with their community. And when we are able to recognize that we're in these patterns, come out, if we're able to do that, honor our sense of aliveness and a healthy protest, we're faced with these binds. And this is the heart of therapy. Shame comes at a great cost. So what used to keep us safe and protected now runs and typically feels like it's ruining our nervous system. So why does it persist? Well, it feels familiar. It's what you've known and learned to do to keep you surviving and thriving. It also creates a sense of motivation. If the thought is that if I'm really hard on myself, if I attack myself, if I beat myself up enough, I am gonna get to my goal. I'm gonna be able to be whatever I want. But really, it's a paradox because it just keeps us stuck. Also, there's this false sense of belonging. If I push myself really hard, if I, am a good student, if I am an overachiever, then I'm going to have a connection, love, belonging, which also sets us up for failure because that may never happen. Also, it keeps us from being vulnerable. It keeps intimacy, connection. It keeps people at a distance, which is very lonely. So all of this comes at a great cost. It costs us our aliveness, our joy, our authenticity, and our connection and intimacy with others. It destabilizes and it becomes a barrier for us to actually live the life that we want. And the work of therapy is really being able to look at what the costs are, what's the barrier, and how can we reconnect with that sense of aliveness and healthy protest so we can go out and live the life that we want and be who we want. When we connect with our values and our joy and our aliveness, really what happens is that it becomes self-reinforcing and it feels good. And yes, it feels scary at first, but once we are able to honor ourselves in that way, we create the life that we want for ourselves. If this is ringing true to you, I really want you to like and subscribe. Not only will that help you know that there's more content coming, but it'll help people like you who are looking for similar content to find what they're looking for. I really appreciate you watching this video and stay tuned because there's more to come.